Hi y'all. Have you recently bought a new smoker and find the instructions very difficult to read and follow? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to unbox and assemble my new Monument Grills model 86030 pellet smoker. The specifications for this makes it really nice. It has a PID controller that goes from 180 to 450 degrees. It has a steering wheel. The hopper has a clean out. It has a couple temperature probes, 700 square inches of cooking space, which will make it absolutely perfect to go and do my smoking. All right, so my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox and take out all the parts, the manual, and then start assembling. All right, so the first thing I did, I took the top off. They had one strap on it, and the top just comes right off. Right on the top is my owner's manual. Throw that to the side. Right here, I'm going to have some legs, some more legs over here, a box of parts here in the front, another box of parts here in the back, a tray back here in the back, and then my actual smoker. I'm going to leave the smoker in here until after I get my legs put together, and we'll get started. Hi y'all, Don here with Southern Backyard Cooking. I hope you're enjoying my video today, and if you want to help me out, please give me those big thumbs up. That helps more than anything else. And if you'd like a few extra perks, become a Patron member. The link is down below in the description, and it would really help me out. Thanks, guys. All right, y'all. One of the main things you want to do when unboxing is unbox everything. Open up the actual smoker part. That's where your hopper assembly is going to be. Open up the hopper assembly because that's where your screws and bolts are. I probably spent 15 minutes looking for the screws and bolts, as well as the drip pan. And it was all in the hopper. I mean, I went through the box, everything, trying to find it. All right, so we're gonna assemble our legs. We assemble our legs and we need to attach it to these pieces right here. And when we look at these, we have two legs that look like this. And then we have, so we wanna use the opposite legs. The longer side we're going to use, and we're going to connect it here so they kind of space out somewhat. So my first two screws are going to look like this. I do not tighten these down until after I get it completely done. I don't want it snug. I just want it loosely tightened. And then once I get all the legs attached, then I'll come back and tighten all the different screws. That way, with the wheels on and everything, I can make sure it sits correctly. All right, so now I have both sets of legs attached like this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the two pair of legs together, and I'm going to attach them together with these, and these go down here at the bottom. All right, so again, I got these C screws with the A washer. I put my bar across here. I want to make sure these two holes, they go on the outside. The top side, or the finished side, is going up. And then start my screws. I want to get them close. I do not want them tight or snug yet, because I want to be able to put this other one on also and have it level and straight before I snug them tight. These on the outside. Now, for my purpose, I'm going to set this up just because this will probably be easier this way. I think it will be anyway. I'm going to set these right on top. Get my screws aligned over here. At this point, I'm going to tighten them up and snug them tight. All right, the next step is on each of these, there's two holes to screw it in. I've done one, and that gets them in place. Now I want to do the other one to get it tightened down and to get it all secure and stable. Okay, so now I got nice and secure and stable. So the next thing I want to do is I have these two rods. Again, I'm going to use a C screw and an A washer. And these holes right here, I'm going to attach them to these rods. This gives it support up here at the top. So when I finish these, so far I've used 2 of the C screws in each of the corners at the bottom. I will have used 2 of the C screws down here, up here at the top on both sides. So it's a total of 12 of the C screws and 12 of the A washers. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to lay it more toward like this. This end has got little holes in it right here and here. This end does not. This end is where we put these casters. These are the locking casters. So we're just going to stick them in the hole and push them all the way in. And they lock in place. All right, and our next step on this end, right through the cross here, is we're going to mount our wheels. And it came with 2 bolts and wheel holders. So we're going to unscrew the bolt. Now when we put it through this hole, the top part, or actually the bottom, this area right here, it's got a square, and these pins have got a squared off top. So we want to make sure it goes through like that. Once you get it to the other side, then put our washer on and our nut. That side's done. We're going to do the other side now. All right, now the only thing I need left to be done on these 2 is I actually need to get a wrench and tighten those down. Now they will tighten down even though this side here doesn't have anything to connect to, but because of that squared off up here at the top, that'll hold it in place where I can actually tighten it down. I just got my socket set out. It takes a 7/16. I put it on there, give it a couple of, not even a full turn. Just a little bit over a 25% turn, and it's tight. All right, so our next step is I'm going to actually take this and set it down on the ground because we're going to be setting our smoker pot right up on top. So now I've got on the bottom here, I've got the wheels to the left. So when I set my pot on, they'll be on the left-hand side. So I'm going to reach over and grab, and I'm going to just set it on top of here. Now I just need to start aligning the screws and then mount it to the base. Make sure it's real secure. I moved it over, and to do it, basically all I did is lift up the lid, slide it over to where I can see the holes. So what I did here is I moved it over, lined it up to where I can see these holes, and then I will start a couple of screws here and there and make sure all of it's lined on all corners before I put them in. I'm going to have a total of 12 screws, that's C screws, and a total of 12 A washers. All right, the next thing we're going to do, this is called a firebox heat insulation. We're going to install 2 of these. They're going to go on the inside down here. I have both of them. I'm going to put them in. We use a C screw. Before I screw them down, I'm going to take a close-up so you can see. All right, this is where they go, and we need to make sure we line that hole up with that screw. That's where we're going to put our C screw. And we have one over on this side also. Do the same thing. All right, our next step is we're going to install the hopper box, where it's going to go right in here. We want to make sure we plug it in as we start to install it. Now I have the 2 wires, and it'll only go in one way. So make sure you get it the right way, push them together, and then feed the wires back in underneath here so that they just don't hang everywhere. And then push it the rest of the way in. Now we're ready to mount to our screws. All right, the screws we're going to use are these E screws. They're long, goes all the way through, and then the screw part actually attaches up here. And you have 5 holes to do this. I'm going to do the top 2 first and then work my way to the others. Once I get them all in, then I'll tighten them down. All right, y'all, the next thing we're going to do is install our handle to the lid. We have 2 sets of these little washer-like looking things. A larger set, which goes on this handle. The smaller set goes in the handle over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the C-screw on my screwdriver. I'm going to put it through here. I'm then going to feed the washer on there and then align the hole up and get it started. I don't want to get this tight though. And now I'm going to do the other side and then tighten it up. All right, now I have it tight. Now our handle is attached. Our next step is to install this little jewel. It's going to use 2 B screws. This thing goes right up in here. This is what the drip pan sits on. It's called an oil catch pan. So we're going to just take these 2 screws and line them up and put them in. All right, the next thing we're going to do over here, these are called a D hanger. It's a little clip looking thing and it has a G screw that goes in it. And there's 2 of them. They're basically right in the center on the left hand side. Our next step is to install the oil drip. This actually takes it down to the oil bucket that's below. So it's going to go on the right hand side. There's a hole down here it fits into. And then we have these 2 B screws that screw it down. Once we do that, we're going to attach these D clips down at the other end. Okay, so that's the drip pan drain. And you can see it goes all the way down through the bottom. These are those D hangers right here and here, as well as over on the left hand side here and here. Okay, our next step is we want to install these. These are for our racks, our top rack, and we have different angles. This part right here that's bent here and here, that is actually going to clip under and over the D installers. So we have 2 holes to put them in. Once we get them in those holes, we got to actually push down and pull up. So this is what they look like. This is underneath this one and underneath this one. And that actually holds it in place. All right, our next step is to install the smokestack. This is our smokestack. With it, we want our gasket. And then we have two of the E screws. So the first thing we're going to do is come over here. Let's slide this down some. And I'm going to put the gasket on. Make sure the gasket lines up with the holes. Then I'm going to put my smokestack on. And then from the inside, put these screws in. I'm going to get them started. And now I'll get my screwdriver and tighten them down. Our next step is to install the handle that goes over here. So with that, I have these other two big stainless washers. And I'm using the E screws. So these are going to go all the way through. I kind of want to go ahead and put those through before I do anything. Now I want to put the washers on. Get my trusty screwdriver. I'm going to start with one of them. And I'm going to line up one of the holes. Start. I don't want to tighten it, but I do want it to where it at least holds it in place. And then put my screwdriver on the other one. Line it. And at this point I can tighten them both down. The next step is to install these braces, the brackets. There's two of them. They use B screws. They're going to go here and here. And what this does is it holds our front shelf. Now I've got these two brackets on, so the next thing I'm going to do is install this. So there's a little slot in the high side. Put one side in. The other side is a little tight, so I got to bend it a little bit and push it in. I lift up, straight down, go all the way up, and then push it down into place. My next step is to install this heat diverter. It goes right into those 2 stainless steel or tin pans that we put earlier. There's two little slots that they fit in. So there's the 2 slots that goes in on that side, over on this side, but it's actually covering the heat box. The next thing we're going to do is install our grease diverter. On this one, it's got a sear plate right across there, and this is real good thick stainless, so it should do a pretty good job. So basically it goes in this latch that goes over here and then slides into the grease tray drip down here. So I put it on one side, and it basically makes sure it goes from one side to the next, so all of it is draining that grease this way. We are getting closer to the end. We're going to install our racks at this point. So we have one that goes back in the back and slide in. I'm putting it on the bottom rack, bottom shelf, and then a second one that can go in anywhere. Right now, because I'm not going to be using it, I'm going to put it on the highest. Okay, we just have a couple things left to do. One, we need to put our grease bucket on. If I walk over here, there is a little hook right up underneath here, right on the actual downspout that'll put it on. This little jewel goes in the box here, and there's a place for 2 screws, just like that. And what this does is a safety precaution type thing to where you can't actually stick your hands down into the auger while it's turning and possibly could cut your hand off. But that's the assembly, guys. That's all there is to it. My best bet for you today is, if you're really looking at this and considering the differences between this one and maybe my Oklahoma Joe's, is go watch. I've got a couple videos about the Oklahoma Joe's, and I've used it quite extensively.